Hello, and welcome back to Creatives Chat. Peter, why don't you tell everybody who we're chatting with today?
Ooh, Rusty, our guest is a father, artist, and educator who uses hip hop, funk, soul, and jazz music to provide a platform for creativity and community. He creates with the purpose of pursuing our passions while embracing our duties as caretakers, providers, and community members. With music as the vessel, he seeks to uplift and affirm us all as we find our rhythm in the dance with creativity and responsibility. Believing that music is a powerful tool for healing, connection, and self-discovery, he seeks to provide an uplifting, energetic experience for all to get in tune with one another and their most authentic and highest selves. Today, we're chatting with Malik LovesYall.
Oh, does he really? Oh, thank you, Malik. Everybody join us as Malik and Peter chat about who knows what.
Hey.
Streaming from Retro Earth Studio and brought to you by
wearehistorically.com. Conscious Human Apparel.
Raise your vibration and energize your life with specialized Fibonacci tuning forks that deepen meditations and empower self-healing. Get your vibrational sound tools for personal enhancement at energybodytuners.com.
Oh yeah, it definitely has been decades. It's always interesting when those types of reconnections come back full circle. It's like, oh, cool, how you been, bro?
Right? It's just like there's so much in between, but it's like the thing. I've actually been thinking about this recently, and I mentioned it in one of my songs. It's like the idea that people who knew you maybe at a very specific period in your life hold you to that version of yourself. And so it's hard, it can be difficult to accept or even just to see somebody in a whole other part of their life and take them for who they are at that moment rather than attaching the other shit to them. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, of course. And that's just like one of the common misconceptions that everyone has, is just their basic assumptions that some people are just stuck in the present, or in the past rather, where they're at in the present. It's just like, are you serious? Like, no, you can't assume and judge and project your own limitations onto others, but it's just a common plight of like the human nature.
Yeah.
Everyone just, I mean, it's always fascinating again too, because even in this sense, reconnecting after so long, it doesn't really ever matter, because when you have that respect and understanding of just beings and that recognition, that's just like, yeah, each soul's on their own journey, each person's on their own path, and everyone's always unfolding. It's like, it's such a different humility when you live in that recognition.
Nah, absolutely, bro. It's like being able to the difference between being able to be fully present and to acknowledge that, yes, the past can inform the present, but that you're not only your past, Yeah,
you're not anchored to it. It's just like everything else in life, change, fluidity.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of big changes coming up for you, right? I mean, it's been a crazy year, huh?
So much has happened just even in these last 2 years, like not even necessarily pandemic related, like just the fact that I became a father. Yeah, bro. Like what? Like I would have, you know what I'm saying? It's something that is always, I always kind of felt that that was one of my purposes, is to just to be the dopest dad ever. But like that never was really in my consciousness until a few years ago. And to know that it's like, I could have never seen myself, being fucking, I'm now 20, I just turned 29, but 29 having 2 kids, like I would have never thought that back when we met, you know what I'm saying? Right. I would have never thought that this would be where my life is now. And I'm like, oh, this is better than I could have ever imagined, dog.
Yeah. Now it's Malik Papa Bear.
Yeah, bro. Straight up.
And that's something to kind of jump into right there, though, is it's always fascinating when you look at it, just the perspective shift when you bring a life into the world. It's like, I'm not a father yet, but having, I would say, 10 plus years mentoring and educating and teaching, it's always an interesting experience when you see that connection and just the shift from just regular living to being a father. I should say a conscious father.
A conscious father, straight up. And like to know that my life isn't just about me and the things that I do. Like I never realized until having a child how inherently selfish I've been my whole life. You know what I'm saying? And not that that's a good or bad thing, but just to notice, like, whereas maybe before having kids, I would have thought that like, oh no, like I really care about other people, and I really, you know what I'm saying? I really like am not just about myself. It's like, nah, bro, you really were for just for yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like straight up, like, and I never really knew that until having children. It's like, oh no, you gotta be for multiple people.
Yeah, they're learning how to people from you. So it's like you gotta try to right that ship in the sense that it's emulating what you want them to aspire to be, you know?
Nah, it's a beautiful responsibility, bro. It's like I have the power to help heal my lineage, you know, and to help send the future ancestors in a good direction. So it's cool.
And that's a dope aspect about the ancestral themes that come through in the music is just that reverence and gratitude, you know, from the EP. I mean, really everything looking at the sense of this reverence to history, to those
Yeah.
that came before us. And I think it's a beautiful concept. So like, how did you get into this reverence for your heritage and your culture?
I think in a sense it's always been tied into who I am and my family. Like
Yeah.
my family's history is so embedded into my own personal narrative. Just thinking about, and I'll just kind of briefly touch on it here, but like just even going back like 2 generations. So my grandparents, my maternal grandparents, had met in like Venice Beach in like the 60s, and like were part of that whole like anti-war, like, you
Yeah.
know, protesting, like back to the land movement kind of thing. They had met each other on Venice Beach. And then like I think like a few months later they got married, and they were like, okay, we're about to go buy land in southern Oregon, like in the middle of nowhere on this mountain. They had 308 acres, and they were completely reliant on not only each other, but also the land and also their ancestral lineage and the wisdom that had been passed through their ancestors to be able to know how to fucking build a house, to be able to know how to work with horses, how to work with the soil, grow food, like just to be able to sustain themselves. And so they relied on that knowledge and wisdom from their ancestors. And so that kind of had been passed down. And it was like, yo, like, and you know, and for example, in our house, like there would be pictures of, you know, my great grandparents, and like, so I always had this kind of thing growing up of like, yo, you acknowledge those who have fucking just made your life possible. You know what I'm saying? Like without them, literally, I would not be here. So that's always kind of been a part of my consciousness.
I love that. That's something that we really have lost as a whole on a societal level is that real connection to our history and our lineage, and that aspect of just thinking that it's really, again, you know, that selfish nature of just me, just here right now. You really do forget that it's like, yo, you're like, you have so many different energies coming through from the past, so many different lessons, so many different aspects to heal from generationally. And it's like, and especially the knowledge that gets passed down, and when you don't have that reverence, you lose it, and then it's gone.
Yeah. And it just even helps connect some of the dots internally of like, maybe of like, why do I think like this? Or why do I have these thoughts? Or why every time during this part of the year I go through this funk? Or maybe why every time in this part of the year I feel amazing? Like, it's like, well, let's do some homework. Let's look at where we come from, the people that we come from, and let's see who they were. Like, it wasn't until I went to a family reunion in Shreveport, Louisiana, like 3 years ago, or yeah, 3-4 years ago, right before the pandemic. And I got to meet people who were in my family that I had never even knew existed. You know what I'm saying? And then meeting them and seeing so many of the similarities, and like feeling like not only just like in from an aesthetic perspective of like, oh, we look kind of the same, but also from the like, oh shit, you believe some of the same things as I do. Like you believe in this idea of like universal energy and spirit, and like and like the magic that we contain and our ability to just do amazing things, like just so many parallels. And these are folks that might even be living completely different lives, like in the way they live their lives than I do, but yet we still have the same core kind of like energy, you know?
Yeah, that same essence, that, and that right there is the passing of the torch, when you can really just give on that wisdom again, like universal energy, the connection with spirit, like keeping yourself rooted with the ancestral knowing, like, yes, that's some
Yeah.
real next level stuff. I love that.
Hell yeah, bro. It's a good reminder for me that it's like I'm never alone. Like no matter how like isolated I may feel at any point, it's like I've literally got a whole like squad of infinite amount of people who are like with me, like surrounding me at all times. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's great.
So stay squatted up, bro.
It's beautiful. Well, it comes through in like, it's like even the first two tracks of the Free to Be EP. It's like the Give Thanks and Love of the Game. It's just like the combination of those two. It's like the reverence of life and what came before you, and just like, if you're all about life, live it.
Yeah.
Like, trust in yourself, manifest it.
Yeah, straight up, bro. Straight up.
I guess that's the essence of your entire vibe. You know, you got that hip hop, funk, jazz, rap, like, but the thing for me is it's always so uplifting. I think that's one of the things where it's like each track gets you to a deeper level of introspection, you know, like, and that's one of those things where it hits different, because when you have a conscious, intentional creator, like the words carry weight. And that's the stuff that keeps you thinking after the track's over. And I'm like, yo, I like how you've been nurturing the skills.
Hey, thank you, bro. Nah, I really appreciate that, man. And you hit it right on. Like, there's just I think that so like I've been doing music, specifically like writing and rapping and stuff like that, since I was like before I could even like literally write, like since I was like 3 years old. And my uncle was the one who nurtured that in me. He's the one who inspired me. Like I so I'm gonna do we have a moment? Can I like kind of like dive into something real quick?
Dive into it. It's all you. Floor is yours.
Okay, cool. So my mom, and so also just to give a little backdrop, like I might tell a story that at first it seems like, how does this connect to what we were talking about? But I swear it will connect. So just bear with me for a moment. So my mom had me at 18 years old, and she was, I think, in maybe her first semester of like community college or some shit. But for her, it was really important for her to like continue her education and just kind of go through the steps of like being able to provide for me, kind of thing. So with that, she was in school a lot. And so she relied heavily on my aunt and my uncle to also take care of me during the day, during the week. And so during my time with my uncle, he's 14 years older than me. I started kicking it, like staying with him like multiple days on end when I was probably like 4 or 5. So he was like 18, 19 years old. And he was into hip hop heavy. Like that was like his shit. Like he
Love it.
grew up in that kind of like second generation of hip hop. Like really, like that was him and his culture, right? So he had his crew with his homies, and they would always be in his studio. Wherever he lived, he always had a studio set up. And his homies would always just be rhyming in there, and they're doing their thing. And I'll just always be the little homie on the couch, like 3, 4, 5 years old, like soaking everything up. Everything, bro. Just like the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it, right? And you know, my uncle's like 18, 19, so he didn't really have the wherewithal to filter himself or his homies at all. And as a result, I just started picking it up. And like he told me that he was in a session one day, and all of a sudden he just heard me like kind of under my breath, just like, yeah, right. And he was like, Malik, like what you saying, Malik? Like speak up, right? And then he said I started freestyling about like Power Rangers and Barney and like just all the shit that was just so like for me at the time. You know what I'm saying? Like that was my voice, bro. I'm talking about Barney and Power Rangers, right? And so he uplifted that for me. And he always encouraged me. He never filtered me. He allowed me to go and say whatever I was thinking, and really like sowed that seed into me. And so I grew up with him kind of doing music. And to tie it back to the music that I make now, he always kind of reminded me that music is one of the most powerful forces on this planet, and that it has the power to build, to move, and it has the power to destroy as well. And so to be very intentional about what message or what vibration I'm putting out there with my creations. And so with that, now when I create music, like I'm very into the specific message is going to differ from song to song.
Yeah.
But the overall, like, I want people to feel powerful. I want people to feel like they can do whatever the fuck they want to do in this lifetime, that there's no limit for them, that they're connected, that they can be authentic. Like, so those are all kinds of things that intentions that go into my music, and I very intentionally do so.
Oh, I love it. And that's the aspect of, I feel, the vibrations that are coming through, and the ones that are becoming more, I would say, popularized, is these themes and understandings of personal acceptance, self-empowerment, community, connectedness. And that's something right there that I always find fascinating, is when you find someone that's just like, yeah, music is a great healing tool. Can build community. I'm like, oh, you piqued my interest. That's exactly what we can do with it. And that's the power of it. Because when you are in that kind of jubilation of just like the ecstatic just vibe, when you're just in a crowd, when you're just like crowd on stage, whatever it is, like when you're in that moment, there's something about music that just connects people back on that heart level. And when you can transcend the personal and just make sure everyone can recognize again, like we're all on the same page in this game of life, like, oof, it hits hard. Then when you get the vibes and motivations, like the latest track in the 52 week project you got going on, The Dream Is Near, that's like, again, man, just like slapper, let's go, keep with the bangers.
Hey, bro, I appreciate that, man. I also just want to give you a shout out too, bro, for having a level of intentionality in the way that you listen and the way that you receive. Just, not only my art, but I know that you do that for everybody that you connect with, and like that's a superpower in itself, bro. Because a lot of people don't really tune in, really, and allow themselves to soak up, what's happening around them, and so that's huge. So I just want to big you up for that.
Thanks, yo. I appreciate it. Well, it's funny that, we share similar experiences in a lot of the sense of being young and in adult scenarios, just people watching and soaking up. And I feel like that's something that is also kind of a lost art, is just listening and just observing. Because when you're just in that pure state of just observation and awareness, you're soaking everything in just naturally. And when you have that recognition as a little kid, that is just like, oh yeah, I can do this myself. Like I can do what they do. Like it's a next level of comprehension. So even then, like as a father and an artist, like passing down this I guess you would say this ideology of like conscious and intention based living, like how do you emulate that in your just everyday business?
So I feel like at a certain point, the way that I live, I'm gonna speak for myself, just becomes a reflection of the habits that I built up. And although yes, there's an intentionality in it, like bringing it back to observation, the babies are looking at the things that we don't know that they're looking at. So they're perceiving and observing the shit that we do on accident, if that makes sense. And the things that we do on accident are actually tied back to our habits, the repetition that we do, and the belief systems that we have. And so I think I just have this like just ingrained in me into just who I am, this natural belief that like there are no limits, like limits are perceived, and the amount of realness that we give to them is the amount of realness that they have. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so that, and then just also within me deep is this really yearning. Like I want people to feel good. Like I want people in general to really believe and know that like we're not put here on earth to purely suffer, if that makes sense. Like I feel like our existence here isn't just to be like, oh fuck, like this is a punishment, like this is a spiritual punishment that I'm in. Like nah, like I believe we're here to experience joy and love, and like 100%. Sometimes grief and pain comes with it, and just like working with soil, we know that like fertilizer, like literal shit, is what helps create beauty, and the flowers that we love to look at and smell, and the food that we love to eat. So I think it all comes with life. And so, I think like just those kind of core beliefs in who I am, I think those kind of come through. And also I have my human moments too. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
I think showing them that it's okay to have those human moments. It's okay to not be perfect.
exactly.
And that's perfect.
Right? Just to
Yeah.
recognize that you can control yourself and these things happen and life is life. And that's also just a regular, I guess you would say, gap that gets kind of avoided in regular modern day life and work and parenting, is just that sense of personal responsibility, I feel. And just like you have to kind of like carry yourself in a certain way, in a certain light. And when you have kids, I don't know, I guess in my experience of like mentorship, you see a lot of people that don't bridge that gap of taking themselves in that sense of like, I'm not trying to make a mini me, I'm trying to create a conscious being. I'm
Right.
trying to not show them that you have to be so uptight and perfect, but to show them that like the human experience is this roller coaster and you have to embrace the ride, and you just have to learn how to navigate it. And most importantly, be your best self. And what does that mean? How do you get into that? Like,
Right. Right. No, that's deep, bro. I think what you said, like not trying to create a mini me, like that's huge, because I know even for me, my wife was pregnant and like going through this idea of like what it means to be a father and to raise another life, like it's really sexy and enticing, this idea of like, oh, I get to create like a better version of myself, or I get to like help create a being that can do all the shit that I never got to do in life, right? Like to try to live vicariously through your
Yeah.
child. And like, I don't think that that's what like children are here for. Like, I don't think that's why we have children. Like, I've have to remind myself that my daughter's names are Rhythm and Madrona. I have to remind myself that Rhythm and Madrona are their own spirits, and like, although they have come through me and my wife, absolutely, like they don't belong to us in a sense. Like they're not our property, our possession. We've been gifted with the beautiful honor of guiding them throughout this lifetime, but they're not ours, to hold on to. So that's been a huge like kind of North Star for both my wife and I as we are going through this parenting journey.
I love how you phrase that, man. The beautiful honor of guiding them down this journey.
Yeah.
That's just an entire perspective shift right there.
Mm.
An entire approach change. And that's the type of, I guess you'd say, perspective that I find is, again, a unique one, because I feel like that's the era that is kind of coming into fruition, is that we're kind of building this society and everyone's kind of getting back into this roots of just understanding of this type of, conscious intention based family unit. And that's something that goes just next level though, because it's a different form of empowerment when you teach someone how to be an individual and how to really harness their own inner power. And again, another theme that just comes through the music is really just harnessing yourself, And I think it's funny though, because it's something that it comes back from Infinite, and then the latest track, what is it, Calnito?
Yeah, Calentito. Yeah.
Calentito.
Yeah.
That's,
hey, you got it.
Yeah.
Hey, shouts out real quick. I gotta give it an O'Day. Yeah.
Already on it.
You already know, bro. Yes.
Senorita Boteo, shout out.
Shouts out.
That's great. That's the thing right there too, is just, incorporating so many different perspectives and flavors of your own beingness, throwing in the Spanish vibe. And I'm just like, yes, let's get it.
Yeah, bro. I love that shit. I think so. Like when I left O'Day, actually, I went to go study abroad in Argentina for a year. And
Nice.
so I was there for 2008, 2009. And so that just like shifted my whole world and my whole perspective in itself. And I grew up a lot in that year, but just being able to express myself through that language, through Spanish, and then be able to attach myself to all those perspectives that come with that learning of Spanish is something that I like to flex every now and then, because it's like, it's the coolest thing in the world when people will look at me and assume whatever they assume about my beingness. And then I open my mouth and start speaking Spanish, and motherfuckers are just like, wait, what? Like it's I'll have to like I'll talk to folks in Spanish sometimes, and it'll take them a minute to register like, oh, this man is really actually speaking to me in Spanish right now. Like, you know, it's kind of cool. I like providing unexpected moments for people.
I like it though, but that's just another tool in the arsenal, you know, the musical belt, where it's just like, all right, now we got a different culture we can tap into. Now we got a different means of expression. You know, now we got more involvement in terms of who can really listen and resonate with the sounds.
Yeah.
And that's another level of just like connectedness right there.
Nah, straight up. That's what I love. I love learning languages, bro. And that's what I love about it, is because it's just more loved ones, more community to create. You know what I'm saying? Like more homies to make. Like I can communicate with more people. Yeah, let's do it.
There you go. See, and that's something right there though, is when did you really come to appreciate that type of bridging the gap in between different cultures and communities? Like that need for just like inclusion all around. Because again, like Malik loves y'all. Like where did that just essence and that radiating light of just like, no, come bring it in? Where did that come from? Where did that get sparked?
I never really thought about this, so thank you for that question. That's a beautiful talent to help people think differently about themselves, or you know. So I appreciate that. In this moment, what I'm getting is it comes from my family. Like I come from a family of multiple different cultures and heritages.
Yeah.
Like my grandmother is Ashkenazi Jewish woman, and my grandfather is, you know, a brother from the South, from Louisiana, and who knows how many different cultures and bloodlines are just in that one human being. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So in my family, we always saw many different traditions, many different people and ways of being represented just in our own, like during holiday times. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think for me, that kind of was like, oh yeah, like family is all of us. You know what I'm saying? And how do I connect with all of us? And language is a great way to do that.
Love that. I love that, yo. That's dope. Well, it just comes back to that aspect of, you know, spreading that responsibility with creation, where it's spreading that vibration of unity in a way that is geared towards just your own inner looking.
Right.
That's the stuff that I find that's really dope. Just like, yep, those are the keys.
But it's like we are all like microcosms of everything. I feel like, you know, like we can look in ourselves and find everything that we want to see in the outside world, you know. So
yeah,
I think we have all the answers really that we need.
That's I would say one of those kind of like spiritual paradoxes that people kind of get caught up in. It's just like, oh man, you know, the lessons were already here. You know, the information and the tools and the paths inward were already present. We just overlooked the subtleties, you know. Right. And we all experience it. Like, you know, I think that's always a thing that music can like really tap you in with, is that timelessness. You know, when you can be in, you know, just that creative flow, whether it's the creation or the enjoyment, you know, like you can just time skip like nobody's business, and you're just like, wait, what? 4 hours just went by? Like, what? Oh my gosh. Like, yeah, time's fleeting, man. Like, it's all about just being in the flow.
Straight up. Yeah. When I always like to think that like when you're in that flow and whatever it is that helps you get to that place, like that's when you're like one with God. You know what I'm saying? Like that's when 100%. You're like just your pure power right there.
Pure power. You phrase it. I like that. I like that. It comes through though, because it's almost like you let how it's always phrased in, you know, like religion and church, is that it's like, you know, you let the spirit flow through you. And it's just like, yeah, but the coolest thing is that we are the spirit and the flow itself. So just being able to experience that and just be one with it. And that's the dopest stuff about music and creation, is that and even just writing, like, you know, in the sense of like, you know, it gives you that opportunity to flex that muscle just to kind of tap back in even quicker. And that's what ultimately I feel like everyone is just like seeking and yearning for, is just that freedom, that openness, that love, just to be like, ooh, effortless.
Yeah. Straight up to feel that infiniteness like with you. Like, and that's the cool thing about the writing process, bro, is like I definitely don't think that it's just me like creating all this, like there's no way that like the limitations of a human body can create all this amazingness that is like flowing through, like I'm being stewarded by um this infinite power, this universal energy, and
Yeah.
I feel like we all have the opportunity to be into that flow when we do what we love, whatever that may be.
Mm. That's amazing. And when you guide yourself by the heart, you find that life just begins to like present you with these opportunities to keep doing it.
Yeah, for real.
And I guess that's one thing that's come through in the sounds is that, it sounds like just being a father and that kind of switch, turn the drive back on to get back
Mm,
on that, not only writing, just getting out there, from the production angle to getting
yeah.
on stage. Like when did that switch just like hit?
Yeah, I think something about parenthood. So for some people, I've heard that parenthood is like a killer of dreams. Like they speak about parenthood as like, oh yeah, once I had kids, like all my own dreams had to like, go by the wayside, and it was just I had to figure out how my kids could live their dreams now. But for
Mm,
me and my wife, it was the complete opposite. Like in fact, when we came together, we knew that we weren't going to be able to fulfill our purposes without each other, without each other's companionship, partnership, like teamwork,
yeah.
and b without our family, without our children. Like we knew that our children were going to be uh, some of the codes to unlock our
Yes.
power and to allow us to really shine and flow in the way that spirit had intended us to.
Yeah.
um and it's been so true, bro. Like I think also because I want to show my girls that like it's we're put here to do something amazing, and so I want to be able to I talk about this in one of my songs. Like I want to provide that blueprint for them, and the only way to do it is to do it myself. Like I can't
Yes.
I'm not somebody. I don't like to teach from a theoretical standpoint. I like to
Yeah.
teach from a perspective of having been there and done it.
Oh, 100%.
So yeah, that's important. I mean, I think they gave me that juice to be like, oh yeah, my girls are watching. Like I want them to be a part of my process and to see that like that, oh yeah, dad started here and then he made all his dreams happen. And
Mm.
and for them to also know that they're a key role, they played a key role in that.
The key to unlocking your power, that's an entire perspective change of just the role of kids coming into the life, where it's that aspect
Mhm.
of teaching,
Yeah.
teaching and receiving. And it's the mutual beneficial relationship and mentorship and coaching. And again, it comes back to even just healing and teaching. Like when you have one person healing, it's always a co-healing. There's always that exchange. There's always that
Mhm.
exchange of energy. And that's just another level of the I see as the future of really like
Mm.
raising families again.
Yeah.
So
I
just hearing
agree.
it and seeing it is just like, yeah, tasty. I love it. Like,
No, straight up, it's happening, man. We're all in it right now.
well, just right there though is that appreciation and again, just like humility, taking yourself out of the center stage and seeing how everything and everyone can kind of utilize opportunities to level up and better
Mm.
themselves. It's a different type of tactfulness and again, like self-awareness to really, and I guess you would say like look within like that. So just in even just the dynamics of, you and your wife, like how did that kind of conscious realization and kind of teamwork establish itself? Because I mean, that's a heavy one.
Bro, that story. So she's an incredible writer. My wife Shira, she's an incredible writer, incredible healer, and just like community gatherer.
Mm,
And man, so we like our story of coming together is literally like it's something from a movie, bro. Like she and I had been really good friends for a while.
mm,
And one of our mutual friends had been like had an accident that left him in a coma essentially. And so she was speaking about selflessness. Like she had created this whole, like I think it was like a 4-day ceremony, fire ceremony for him, where she and their community held this fire for like 4 days. They didn't let it go out for 4 days, day and night. And on the fourth day, she threw like a festival, like to raise funds for him and just to like bring his spirit into the space. And so she had asked me to perform. And so I performed, and in the middle of my set, there is just like, and mind you, her and I were just like really good friends. Like there's so much love and respect there, but not in a romantic way. You know, it's just like, this is just the homie. And in the middle of my set, there was a moment where I was like, I just went on like autopilot, and then my like it was just me and her in the room. Like I felt everybody and everything literally just like melting away. Like it started to like literally, bro, like in the movies when that shit happens. And it was just me and her. And I felt ourselves like going into this portal. And I had to consciously be like, okay, snap out of it, bro. Like snap out of it. It's like divert your attention elsewhere, because if you don't, you're literally gonna like portal jump and like disappear type shit.
I'm slipping. I'm slipping. I'm getting pulled out.
Straight up, bro. I felt like I literally felt that energy. It was crazy. And and so that moment happened. The rest of the night happened, whatever. And then me and her, like, I was just like, yo, I gotta see you. Like, we gotta like link up. Like, we gotta either talk about what just happened or like just something. There's some reason why we need to connect. You know what I'm saying? And so fast forward a few months later, we ended up kicking it. We met up in Santa Monica on the beach, and I got out of my car. I saw her, and the moment that we saw each other, it was like, oh yeah, this is the person that I need to create the rest of my life with. This is the person that's going to help me unlock like just my purpose. Like, and we both felt that, and we spent the rest of that day like essentially talking about the rest of our lives together and what we wanted to manifest. And I tell you, P, like I literally had no romantic anything towards her, bro, before that moment. Like she was the homie. Like I respected and loved her so much. And in that moment, it was like, nah, like y'all need to get married. Y'all need to have kids. Like y'all need to like, cause y'all's purpose is together, tied together. And so in that moment, we're like, yeah, we want to travel the world together. We're going to be world-renowned musicians. We want our family to be a part of that process. We want to bring our families on tour. We want to world school our children. Like, and on that day, we kind of just like sealed it up, and yeah, we heard it all. So she always refers to it as a spiritually arranged marriage, because like the universe, like straight up, bro, the universe has literally like arranged our unity, because we had no plans of doing that shit, you know, like it was just all spirit, and it was like, yep, this is it.
See, that aspect of divine timing and the recognition of it, though, how many people overlook certain synchronicities and inner pullings, or maybe something over like within themselves, they can't overcome that ability just to lean into it and just to give it that space, just to, you know, let that fire burn. But to me, man, that is just the power of the flow. That's so beautiful. I love it.
Straight up, bro. It was definitely one of those moments where it was really scary, because it was like, yeah, like we weren't dating, nothing like that. It was just like, oh yeah, y'all are gonna spend the rest of your lives together. And we had to really surrender to that. And I'm so grateful that we did, because it's just like our life has just been unfolding so beautifully ever since that moment.
Right there is probably the best recognition that you're doing that soul contract or whatever it is we came here to do, that you're doing that right, because life is just like, yep, they're listening, they got it. And then it's just opportunity to keep that journey unfolding. And that's the stuff where I'm like, yeah, man, riding that wave. It's beautiful.
Yep. And it's a reminder too that this life can be as magical as we allow it to be, you know?
Yes. Oh, theme that's always coming through.
Yeah.
And that's the Malik magic. And it's well, it's just that energy again, man. It comes back to just that upliftment. It's like you can tell someone who's really living and loving life. And that's the difference, loving their experience and like really coming back to doing what makes their heart smile, as I like to see it. And it's just like,
yeah, bro, straight up, man. And it's definitely it's taken me a while to to get to this place. I know when you and I had first met, can't really say that I was in that place. And but it was always somewhere in me, right? Because it's like I couldn't have unlocked something that wasn't already here. But no, I'm glad that I've leaned into it.
Well, what are some of those introspections that you feel that have kind of given you those keys just to unlock those doors of just the ending the self-sabotage, not getting in your own way of expression?
Yeah, I think that year living in Argentina was a huge key to that, because it kind of pulled me out of like the matrix a little bit. Like, because I mean, living in any big city, especially in a big city in the US, where our culture and perspective on things is very individualized, very about how can I get money so that I can survive kind of thing. Like there's a huge scarcity mindset that comes with growing up in the United States for many reasons. And then so being pulled out of that at 15 years old, like in the height of me wanting to grasp that, wanting to like attach myself to the scarcity mindset, attach myself to the individuality and the like macho bravado that has to exist if you're going to make it in this world, like, or at least in this version of the world. I was pulled out of that and I was put into another reality where family was priority, where life moves slow. Like man, yeah, like it's a reality where, so you go to school, at 12 o'clock, everybody in school goes home and has lunch with their family. And then you get a few hours to like sleep. So like everybody's like takes a nap in the middle of the day. And then you have night school, you can go back to school, or you just have the rest of your day open. So like the fact that there is time and space in that culture to pause, be with your family, eat with your family, and rest in the middle of the day, like that does not happen here, right? Like, so just to be in that kind of world was like, oh shit, like there's more to life than just this hustle and bustle and trying to prove myself and trying to like be the alpha. And yeah, I think I just had time to kind of go into myself a little bit and I was put in some difficult situations, like lived in a new town where everybody knew me. I lived in a small town. Everybody knew who I was. I didn't speak the language. Had to learn it. Like just so much newness, and it just made me really go into myself and figure out who I was.
Yeah, it's just that journey into the cave. You just have to go venture into the forest.
Yeah, straight up. So I think that was the kind of the start of it, and then from that point, definitely had gone into the forest, quite literally, a few times after that to really find out who I was.
That journey and courage just to look within, though, like it can be pretty intimidating, I feel. And especially with how we're conditioned, you talk about the hustle and bustle lifestyle. There's so much, I would say, themes of suppression in that life, of giving into societal pressures, sacrificing your own love and desires just to kind of make it or make do. Just, work away and, indentured servitude, slave away at some job that you don't love. And that alone, to overcome the attachment to that life and then just go dip out and go experience something new like that. I mean, that is definitely a trial by fire. But in terms of just like the independence that comes from it, it's an interesting way it impacts you. And I'm just curious, like, do you see that as a start of a journey that brought your music to another level of introspection?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. Like just even musically, the musical influences that were happening around that time. So this is 2008 when I left Seattle to go to Argentina. And like, Lil Wayne was like, he was like killing it with like the mixtapes. Like that was like, he was like kind of at the pinnacle at that point. And so that was kind of like what I was hearing and what I was surrounded by musically, was just kind of like that energy.
Yeah.
right? And then like just and bro, you know O'Day, like just around that time, like what was happening and like who everybody was trying to present themselves as, and like it was a lot. Yeah, bro. It was a lot of that. And so then to go to a place where like 15, 16-year-old kids were listening to folklore music. Like they were like popular music was like music that like grannies were singing, you know what I'm saying? And like 15, 16-year-olds were hip to that. Like music like played on guitar and like singing and like instead of going to like the 18 and under club that we would be doing back at those times, like kids were sitting around a bonfire and like singing songs with their guitar and like having like barbecues and shit. Like that was what kids did on the weekends. You know what I'm saying? And so I think to be immersed into that kind of energy and culture definitely informed my music, because it was like, oh, I don't have to be like going hard all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't have to like try to bar up about doing some shit I've never done in my life, like just to be cool. Like, you know, like I can take it easy. I can try to mess with instruments. I can sing. I can like just express myself in different ways. So that was super formative for my music taste.
I love that. That alone just takes it to another level too, because you can hear it influence the beats. And that's a curious ask question for your production process. Just you're like how you approach your music creatively, creative wise, is how do you incorporate all the different world cultures and sounds into the beat making process? Because are you making the beats in a lot of this? Especially, I have a question for you into the 52 a year project.
Yeah.
Are you producing all the beats on those as well?
Everything, bro. Everything you hear. Maybe there's 2 songs on my Spotify that I did not produce, but everything I produced.
fire slappers. It's just
Thank you, bro.
You can hear the Latin vibe in it too, though. It's just like the syncopation and just like the hi-hat and the shakes.
Yeah,
keep it going. Keep it coming, bro. Keep it coming.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. But I mean, just the influence on that is definitely the time in Argentina. I lived in Ivory Coast, which is in West Africa, in 2013, I think. Yeah. So that plays a huge influence. And then my brother, I got to give a shout out to my brother Avila Santo. He is, man, this dude is he's kind of like, so my uncle is like he's like the godfather. Like he's the one who like passed down like just the idea that you can even do music. I get all of my lyrical everything from him. But then production wise, like my homie Avila Santo is like my master splinter or some shit like that. Like I've always looked to him, and he comes from like an Afro-Brazilian background and like it's ill percussionist. And so I'm really inspired by him. He was kind of one of the first people that even encouraged me to make beats in the first place.
Wow. And how did that journey come to be? And when you were just like, okay, let's get into the beat making aspect.
Yeah. So with Avi, I met him probably 2010, I think. And I was doing music, and one of my homies that I went to high school with had grown up with him, and he was like, yo, you should link up with my homie Avi, he can record you. Because I was trying to find places to record. He's like, yeah, he can record you. And so I went over there, and me and Avi like hit it off instantly. It was like, oh yeah, this is like another person we're meant to be in this lifetime together for the rest of our life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Soul brother type shit. So I was hanging out with him for a little bit, and then at some point I was like, yo, bro, like, let me get some beats, bro. Like, I need some beats, dog. Hook me up. And he was like, Malik, he was like, I'm gonna tell you this because I love you, bro. He was like, no, you got to make your own. And I was like, wait, what? Hold up, that's not how this conversation was going in my head, bro. Like, I thought we were homies. You're gonna hook me up. And he was like, nah, like, you need to learn how to make your own beats. Like, sustain yourself in that way. Be the master of your destiny type shit,
100%.
You're right. So he kind of showed me the ropes, and then I just took it from there.
I love that. And the Afro beat comes through,
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's like, bro, I want people to be able to move and dance and groove to my shit. Like, my whole philosophy is I want to provide beats that make you instantly want to move and groove, but like words and messages that even if you're not consciously listening to them, seep into your subconscious and like help provide some healing for you, help start that process.
Right, because you're talking to the heart. Doesn't even matter if the brain's not listening. Something's coming through.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You got it.
Of course. It's another one of those real recognized real moments.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, it's the energy again that comes through and more of the upliftment of that kind of I hate to even say it, it's just like the old school drumming, it's just like the cultures of just like our olden times, from like the Latin aspect to even just like the African coast. Like I just already know that like some of my favorite music to listen to is always Afrobeat. Just because again, like their energy is always just like it's always getting you moving. It's just that culture that appreciates the bob and just move. It doesn't matter where you're at. It's always funny because one thing I learned in South Africa was they were always talking about like the music and the dancing. It's just like how things kind of like when you're lower in Africa, it's like it's a lot of feet. And as you go higher and higher up, it just like kind of changes to like where people kind of like the natural bob and the move. And it's like from the shoulders to even just doing like almost like Indian Bollywood hand stuff. Like you get to see it travel up the world. But when you have that culture and that connection, it's like when people appreciate movement, that's the stuff that really comes through in the sound. Because again, it's like what you're talking about. It makes you want to like, it pulls you out of the seat, gets you engaged. It makes you express yourself like a kid again. It's like, and just play.
Yeah, straight up. That's huge. That's a huge theme. I'm glad you brought that up. Is like returning to our childhood selves, bro. Like that's the goal. I want everybody to tap into their inner youth, like for so many reasons, right? But that's so important. And I think that, when you're out and about and you see young brothers listening to music, the popular music of today, whatever is on the radio or whatever, you'll see cats kind of headphones on and they'll be like kind of head down, like going like this, right? Or like the energy, their posture is down. And you could tell that they're energetically, their spirits are kind of down too, right?
Yeah.
I want to provide music that helps people get up, has their heart in the center, has their heart open, and they're like, like, just grooving. So I want to shift it from hunchback to up here. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh, that's next level conscious creation. I love that. That's a great way to phrase it too. And that right there just goes to show the things that we soak up into our beingness energetically, how that just impacts everything on the physical level, the emotional level, the mental level, and the power of what we can really do when we can transform just the mainstream of music to being more conscious, and I guess you would say consciously based and intentionally based. And I feel like that's actually been happening, honestly.
Yeah.
I feel like that's been what's resurging in kind of the old mainstream. I mean, really big studio stuff's kind of dropping away, and everyone's kind of appreciating that authenticity again of the individual.
Yeah, I think so too. Like it's always gonna cut through, man. Like the real is always gonna cut through.
And the real is always gonna cut through. Trying to bring in the themes of childlike self, bringing that back to the forefront. So how can you utilize that from a spiritual, or I guess you would say a spiritual and a musical perspective in the journey of like from this 52 journey?
Yeah.
How is that unfolding? Like, what was the inspiration? Is that just this little project to inspire, or just
so a little bit of everything. Like, so I'm gonna give credit where credit is due. So I got the idea to release a song a week for a whole entire year from the artist Russ. So I heard that Russ, when he was first starting out, dropped a song a week and was able to just kind of create a buzz for himself through that consistency. And so when I thought about that idea, it made a lot of sense for me just through a practice, because I have traditionally been someone who, I'm always making music. I've always been making music. But before this, I would seldom release anything. Like it would just kind of be tucked away in my own vault. And I think perfectionism, like the idea that it had to be perfect, played a huge role into that. And so I just wanted to challenge myself, for one, to release what I'm creating and to allow myself to build community around it. And then two, to be able to create momentum from it so that I can make the shift to being a full-time creator and really be in that purpose for myself. Because like even now, I work a full-time job, right? Like I'm supporting my family financially. I got to do what I have to do. And throughout my years of doing that, it always comes back to, bro, you are a master creator. Like music is your purpose here. You need to be able to do that full time. Um, so yeah, this 52 a year is just like building up that momentum, creating that law of attraction for myself as an artist, so that I can attract this lifestyle that my spirit is needing, you know?
Yeah, I like that. Track that lifestyle. And when you're putting out that force of creation, it just gravitates the things towards you. That's
Hmm.
something that's very interesting when you look at it, though. And in that process of manifestation, how have you seen music kind of bring you to this point of just like realizing your power?
Mm. It's been very instrumental in that because music is the way that I've always felt um, most powerful, most potent.
Yeah.
And knowing that music as a tool is extremely powerful in itself, to manifest, like I'm gonna, and if you listen to the stuff that I'm putting out, some of it is like almost like my future self speaking, you
Okay.
know what I'm saying? And I do that purposefully because I know that we can manifest so much through music. Like if
Ooh.
you, even in listening to cats like, I mean, Tupac or even like Nipsey Hussle, like a lot of these, like as and shouts out to both of them because they're both very influential to me. But I think that they manifested their destinies
Mm,
in many ways through the ways that they lived and through the ways that they died, um, through
mm,
their music. Like they both kind of talked about this sort of like going out through the streets kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? In their music, that was very
mm,
prevalent, and it happened. They made it happen.
100%.
Um, and they also manifested all the other beautiful things that came along with their legacies in their life through their music too, right? And so
Yeah.
why would I be any different? Like
Mm,
I know that I can create whatever I want in this world with my words. And then when I get other people singing those words too, like that
yeah.
multiplies that manifestation power. Um, and before you know it, the whole world's going to be manifesting this beauty, right? This like inner healing, this
Yeah.
grooviness.
Well, the inner healing and the building and the, I guess you'd say, like the manifestation, it was like that line in Dream is Near, where it's like you talk about doing what I love and build the tribe I know. And I think that's the
Hmm.
stuff that always fascinates me, is when you talk about manifestation, is when you really start to align yourself with like that heart, the communities that come together and the different peoples that cross. And it's like you start to emulate these role models again and start building your own empire. And everyone
Right.
starts to get uplifted. And that's just one of those, another, like you talk about soul brothers, like that's the stuff that's always fascinating when it comes in the journey.
Yeah. Yeah. Straight up. Nah, it's like in a very real sense, like once you start to put your creations, your ideas out there, you create more space for people to latch onto them. Because they'll be like, oh, like I thought that too. Or like, yeah, that's a cool thing. Like I want to be a part of that, And like,
Mhm.
but it can only really happen if we put it out there, if
Hmm.
it stays in our thoughts, like sure we can manifest things through thoughts, but the way that thoughts work, we're going to pass that along to somebody else who's going to be able to activate it. So
Hmm.
like thoughts aren't
Planting seeds.
yeah, they don't, these thoughts don't belong only to us. Like these thoughts are flowing because they want to get created, they want to get manifested.
Hmm.
And so if I'm not going to be the host to manifest it, the thought's going to go to somebody who will, because it wants to live, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So I'm trying to make sure
I
that
like that.
thoughts and great ideas are welcomed in my vessel. I try to make them
Mm,
as welcomed and as um, feel it as at home with me as possible, because they'll know that I'm going to be the one who's going to make them happen. you know?
Woo, that type of realignment, that's enough. See, that right there is a beautiful way to look at the ability to receive grace and to emulate grace, is to allow
Mm,
yourself to align with the flow of the universe by
right.
being that receptive. I like how you put it, the vessel.
Mm.
This is something right there in and of itself, though. This journey of introspection, meditation, self-mastery, self-awareness, when did that start for you?
Mm. I think that's kind of always been with me because I'm an only child and I'm kind of like a latchkey kid in a sense too. Like I would be at home by myself all the time because my mom was working, right? Like
Yeah,
she was a single parent and she had to provide
yeah,
um, a life for me, and she did that very well.
yeah.
But as a result, I was by myself a lot, and so I was always kind of just like with my thoughts, you know.
Hmm.
And I think I got comfortable in that place, and yeah, just kind of taking all of it in. And I think at some point where maybe those thoughts were negative or self-destructive, I realized that just as easily I could build myself up through my thoughts too, you know, and through kind of creating a relationship with myself. So yeah, I kind of started to do that. But I think also too, like, I don't know about you, bro, but I think the year 2012 was really pivotal for me and for a lot of people that I know. It was kind of this year of like reawakening almost, of like I was called into just a different lifestyle.
Yeah.
And yeah, that year I definitely started like diving more into myself for sure too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I'd say mine probably hit around like 2009, 2010. And then
Mm,
again, those checkpoints of just like different years, different eras, just like another exponential leap up
yeah.
the, peeling another layer back. Just like, oh gosh, here we go. Let's get it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's been the beautiful aspect of this life and how it unfolds, is it always brings you to this point of self-empowerment and
Mm,
really authenticity, allowing your heart and what resonates within your beingness to shine. And honestly, man, I can't say anything more, but like your energy comes through in the music, and that Malik loves y'all vibe, like you can tell, like it is coming from that space of love. And that right there is, a kudos to itself. So thank you for putting creative music out there that is based in that universal consciousness, that
bro.
interconnectedness, that's the stuff we need.
Yeah, brother, man, I appreciate you, man, and just for affirming me in that too. Um, it's people like you that help that creation multiply, you know. So I thank you, bro, for real.
Of course, man. And I got to say, in terms of this creative chat experience, are there any words of advice that you'd like to part our listeners with?
Yeah, just know that everything's all right. Like, in whatever moment you may be in, whether it's a great moment or whether it's not so great moment, it's ephemeral. So it's going to shift. It's going to move.
Yeah.
And when it does move, it can easily move up or it can move down a little bit. But when it moves down, it has nowhere else to go but back up. So at the end of the day, we're going to be moving through this, like, what is it called? Like when you're in the hospital and you're attached to the heart monitor, is that the EKG?
Yeah. Showing you the heart rhythm and the
Yeah.
beat. Yeah.
Yeah, the rhythm of your heart. So like that's literally, I like the analogy of like the EKG reader or whatever that is, like that's life, you know, like it goes
Yeah.
up and down, and that's how we know
Mm.
that we're alive. And yeah, it only goes up. It only ever goes up. You know what I'm saying?
I
Always.
love I love that, the optimism, the power realizations, it comes through. I gotta say, Blake, I'm gonna have you stick around for the after show, but I gotta say, thank you, listeners, for tapping in. Roll the outro.
Thanks again to our sponsors for making this show possible. Thank you, We Are Historically, for your conscious human apparel. Shop online at wearehistorically.com.
Level up your life and raise your vibration with specialized Fibonacci tuning forks. Get your vibrational sound tools for your personal enhancement at energybodytuners.com.
Another creative art production by Retro Earth Studio.
hello, Malik. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing really well, man. I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself before. Me and Peter just went straight into it.
It happens, and I didn't want to prevent that flow. I mean, I could just tell you guys just hit the ground running, and so I was like, "Oh, we started." Okay.
That concludes this episode of Creatives Chat. Thank you for watching our show. Click the bell button to get notified of future episodes. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Sometimes we'll be in a moment where like, why am I here? What is going on, right? And then like you get out of that moment and you're like, oh, that's what that was for. Like, thank you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.